This is going to be a progressed version of working on hip internal rotation mobility, specifically to improve hip internal rotation and improve more joint space in your hip joint. So this is the 90-90 position. It is a very progressed position. It is not a starter position. So we want to make sure that we feel what we need to feel in this stretch. If you're unable to feel what you need to feel, or you're feeling some pain or some sort of closing angle symptoms, which I'm going to describe in the stretch, then this is probably too progressed for you or not a good position for you. You want to find a different position. So we're going to start with moving into the stretch, how to get set up. Then from there, I will show you PAILs rails and we'll walk through what that feels like and how to do it. First, to get into the stretch, we are thinking about moving and working on internal rotation of the back leg. So I usually tell people, let's lean away from the stretch. Let's make sure our knee is at about 90 degrees here and it's behind us. Our thigh is not in front of us. From there, what we are going to think about is winding into hip internal rotation. The hip internal rotation is going to be moving the ball in the socket or moving the socket around the ball. We are going to do a little bit of both here by pivoting or by keeping our femur where it is and actually kind of moving our pelvis into more internal rotation to get that winding sensation. So you're going to think about sinking your left glute, if this is the hip you're working on, in towards the ground to feel a nice deep stretch on this hip joint. We want to avoid pinching or closing angle stuff in the groin. If you feel that, maybe play around with the position of your hip, but this is likely too progressed for you if that's what you feel. From there, you should just sit into the stretch for around 2 minutes, trying to kind of relax. We're not pushing into a big intensity. We're trying to get those muscles to relax and give us more range of motion. If you'd like to increase the intensity, you can kind of lean towards that hip a little bit, but if it's already intense, you can keep your weight on your hands over here and just let your butt sink down. From there, we are going to add our PAILs rails. So PAILs is going to start with contracting your ankle down into the ground, thinking about doing this type of movement, but the ground is resisting us, so nothing's happening. You'll feel a slightly less stretch sensation, but we are not coming out of that movement. We are going to think about a scale that you would step on for weight or weigh any food on. We're gonna imagine that's under our foot. You're slowly trying to make your foot weigh more or make the scale number go up. Once you get to the desired intensity, somewhere up in the higher intensity towards your max, we are going to hold for 20 to 30 seconds. So you should feel all of those muscles really working. Your whole leg's going to be shaking here. Then ramp down and feel like that scale number is going back down. Now from here, we are going to start rails, which is going to be the stuff that would pull you into a deeper stretch. For internal rotation mobility, we are going to think about hip internal rotation stuff in the rails part of the contraction. That's going to be the opposite of what we just did. So if you imagine that scale is still on your foot, maybe your foot weighs 10 pounds. We are now going to think about trying to make the foot weigh less. You are glued to the ground, it's not gonna lift, but you're thinking about the muscles that would do that, which would be this motion right here. We are thinking about winding our thigh forwards or pulling ourselves deeper. So we're doing a little bit of both so we can get this nice rotational movement here so we feel a little deeper stretch. You're gonna ramp that intensity up to the desired intensity of the contraction. You're gonna hold that for about 20 to 30 seconds and then you're gonna ramp back down, and that is your rails contraction, and that is your hip internal rotation stretch in the 90-90 with a PAILs rails contraction. You're always gonna wanna progress eventually with additional sets, but that is one set of your PAILs rails.